Hey there, Scott Adams here. I'm instructor for Theater Arts, Introduction to Theater. So if you're watching this, we're going to go ahead and do a theater tour that we would normally do if you were on the ground circumstances in person. But since we're not, next best thing is on video. And I want to thank our theater technician, Patrick Thatcher, who's helping me with the video for this. And we're just going to take you through kind of the backstage areas and some of the rooms that we use during the course of a normal semester, and just kind of give you some background. And we're going to be taking this to piggyback off this for our next lecture discussion on types of theater. Okay, so where we are right now is the Dietrich Theater at Sierra College on the Rockland campus, and this in a lobby. So we've been talking about kind of when you come to see a show, you stop in a lobby and you kind of look around. So listen, I'm just going to kind of take you around to see some of places where we would have normally like a lobby display. If you're going to see a show, often the directors or the producers will maybe put up some headshots of some of the actors or biographies, or maybe even a display from aspects of that theater. When we were doing certain theaters and certain shows in recent past, we had displays from the playwright up here, and so you could see a little bit of the background of shows that playwright had done in relationship to the show that we'd be doing that night. And so that's kind of some of the things that when you go see shows in the future that I want you to be aware of. When you enter the lobby, is there music playing? You know, and pay attention to the lyrics, to the style of show that's going on. Is it R&B? You know, is it a 1950s theme? Is it modern? Is it classical? But pay attention to those things when you're going into a theater, and that all starts as soon as you enter into the lobby. So I'm going to take you down to the end of the lobby now into where we have our box office windows. So Patrick, follow me around here. So this is our box office window. It's closed right now, but when we here, obviously, theater companies will sell tickets right at the door, and oftentimes you can get them online, or you can call in advance or something like that. But for a busy show, like a year ago last spring, we had our Addams Family musical, and we had people in droves of lines out here, and we'd be selling tickets right into, and then ushers would hand you a program or a playbill, like we've already looked at in this class, and before you go into the audience. Now, one of the things we've talked about is theater etiquette in terms of really when you arrive to a show. It's really important that you try to plan to arrive, no later than about 30 minutes before curtain time, and so that you come and you've got your phones on silent and all the things that you hear when you go to a movie, right? And you take your gum out of your mouth, and then you sit quietly in your seat, and you're ready to really be respectful to your fellow audience members, and to the actors on stage who have worked really hard. So part of that is arriving early enough to get your tickets and be ready to go in the show. It's so weird to talk about this stuff during COVID environments. Like, I miss going to live theater so much. It's like, I remember months ago when we were going to see shows. But we will be again very soon. I am very confident of that. The theater community will rise to our new reality once we get the vaccine, right? Right. Okay, so we're going to turn around the corner and we're going to go into our T1, which is kind of a multi-purpose room for us in the theater department here at Sierra College. That's behind the scenes of where the box office is. We have a little library, and we have student stations, places where you as a student can study, can do research on a computer station. We have design meetings, production meetings in there. We're going to be talking a lot about that in the future coming weeks, about what designers do when they get together to prepare for production, sort of that pre-production work. So that all happens for us here in this room that I'm about to show you. So just a little tiny room, but a lot of stuff happens in here. We've got an array of scripts, our plays in here that sometimes we check out. Sometimes the instructors use them to assign plays and scenes and monologues to some of our acting courses. A little messy right now because we're, you know, in between semesters right now. We're not quite here, but we're here. So you can see actually in the way background something that I'm going to show you a little bit more clearly is this is actually a model design of what we use again and again of plays that we design here. And so you can see different kind of backdrops and props and things that we can sit in. This is from also was from the Addams Family musical as well. And so we show things how things move on and off, which we'll be talking about here. And I think about a week or so in our class. You've got some, and we'll also be talking about ground plans for the stage. And so we turn this around. This is a very large schematic diagram. Has a little bit of some lighting and things that we're going to be talking about in the coming weeks as well. But some of that lives in this room as well as publicity photos and things like that. So next we're going to head down to the makeup lab and / dressing room where we teach some classes and have also multi-purposes. So come with me and we will look at that next. Are you still on?
Yep.
Okay.
One continuous tour video.
Okay. Here's T2, one of our larger classrooms, which is actually going to be converted in the coming months ahead into a little bit of a black box space where we're going to be our performance classes, our acting classes are going to be taught. So we're actually in the process of planning that now. We're going to be bringing in black curtains and new flooring and it's going to be a really exciting space for our performance classes. We're going to be having acting for musical theater in there, our acting 1, our acting 2, and our 1-act class, where student directors are going to be actually working on pieces as well as working on with crew and actors to do student-directed 1-acts, and that's our 1-acts workshop class that will be taught in the spring. So that's all going to be in our T2 classroom, which in the past we have taught this class as well as other lecture classes like script analysis. So that's our largest classroom in the T building where we are right now. And allow this. Yeah. Okay, this is T9, also known as our dressing room, and we have a variety of things that go on in this class. It's kind of an extra room for us where sometimes we have our theater arts club that meets in here, and the theater arts club is a group that kind of meets and does different kinds of activities, plans to go out and see plays together. And all kinds of different, they'll have movie nights or improv nights or whatever the students decide they're going to do. It's a student-led organization on campus. But you can see here that when we have shows, we have in our dressing room, we can split the room with our curtain any way we want it. And you can see that the actors themselves would sit at the makeup station and then put on their makeup. In here, where we're feigning sort of brighter, more stage quality lights to put their makeup on. We have actually for our Theater Arts 22, our production crew class. Sometimes we have students who have taken the makeup class, or they have a little experience with stage makeup, and they'll help the actors here at their stations if there are actors that come in with less makeup experience. And so it's really kind of cool that we have all these stations with the mirrors, and as I mentioned, we have the makeup class in here, and that's taught usually in the spring by Roger Hoopman. And all kinds of things. We have, listen, we don't have the barber chair in here right now, but normally we have that kind of barber chair that where they can do 3D makeup, like a witch's wart or a prosthetic nose or something like that. That's really, really cool. They do clown makeup. They do all kinds of things in that class. And then the production crew class, as I mentioned, does their lectures in here. So it's kind of a multi-purpose room. Really kind of cool. And then what we can also do in here, we have lockers to store valuables for backstage. When the cast and crew is backstage, they're not allowed to have their valuables on their person, but we lock them up so they keep them safe because we're big on safety here. But we have this door here that opens up to the costume shop, and so we can bring our rolling racks right in here to be the functioning dressing room that it was designed to be. And then we have restrooms here where actors can take showers. Sometimes you have a show where they have full body makeup on, or what have you, or students who are kind of coming straight from work and going to rehearsal or performance, and they can make use of those showers in the restrooms. So we have those available to our students as well. So a really cool functioning room that we're proud to have here at Sierra College. So next we're going to take you to the costume shop, and we're going to get to see 2 levels of what we make use in our costume shop. So come along. Let me turn off the lights here. So this is the bottom floor of the costume shop. I call it our small but mighty costume shop. It is fully functioning to be able to house all kinds of fabrics and materials and what we call our stock of costume that we have that I'll show you in a moment. That's upstairs. What you're seeing on these racks, these are like the rolling racks that I was mentioning earlier, are from our show from last spring that we made it to dress rehearsals before we had to basically close the campus down for COVID-19, but still are on here because we haven't really truly been able to strike the show from the costume shows from last March. So this was the picture of Dorian Gray, and so you see here some period costumes that we have pulled and that we're using. This was from the late 1800s in England. That Oscar Wilde wrote that show, and so we would have here. You can see the names of the actors, and then behind each divider would be a ditty bag where you would find, socks or undergarments or those kinds of things, and then all of their costumes for that particular actor. And sometimes we had, like in that show, they're playing multiple parts, and so every single one of their roles, costumes would be behind their little divider here, and shoes and this array of wigs that we have. We purchased a lot of these specifically for the show. But we also do have a stock of wigs. Up in the bins over here, we have various materials, and you can see lace satins, muslin, felt, all kinds of materials in different colors that are really well organized for us. And so hats, wigs, shoes, all kinds of things are here. What we do is we have a lot of times you kind of see that the half bust on the far shelf up there. What we'll do is maybe we'll take a costume and we'll put it on the bust, and then we'll put up a stage light from here to see how will it look under the stage lights. And so we'll have a Fresnel or something like that. That's usually up that we can kind of shine it on, so we see how, or we'll have the actor themselves come in, because as we'll see looking at the next couple of weeks when we talk about design, how a costumer and how a lighting designer work cohesively together so that we can make sure that the colors are looking the way we want it. They're not washed out and all those kinds of things on the stage. And so those are the things the conversations and that are going on in the costume shop. It'll start with actor fittings, where we get their measurements, and on down the line. So we have an instructor who teaches 2 costume classes, one in the fall and one in the spring. This fall, going on right now, is costume construction. So they're actually using some of the materials that you would see in here, the sewing materials. And we sent out sewing kits to that the students picked up and are now using remotely, so that they can get across the learning outcomes that they need to in that class. And so they're sewing at home right now in costume construction. And in the spring, we have a costume history class, which is very, very extensive. And so we actually teach a certificate program for costuming. And so if that is something that you're interested in, the makeup class is part of that certificate, both the costuming classes, production crew, and then, you've taken most of the classes that you would need to achieve that costume certificate that we offer here at Sierra College. So some really cool things. I'm going to take you briefly upstairs to show you what we call our stock. And you can see that if we don't have it, then we borrow it, or we purchase it, or we build it. It's always going to be one of those three things. We always have it in our stock, and we tailor it to that actor in that particular show, or we purchase it for later, or we borrow and sometimes rent. And so we have good relationships with the other theater companies in the area. So that's sometimes they'll come and borrow from our stock. So we're going to head upstairs now, just briefly.
I'll go up. I'm just going to aim the camera down at the steps.
Okay. We've just a year ago cleaned out the entire stock. This used to be wall to wall, rows and rows of bars and racks of stock, and so we've just gone through an extreme purge, and so it's very well organized and a lot more spacious than it used to be up here. But you can kind of get an idea of what a costume shop looks like from the stock of that particular company or theater department at an academic institution like ours. So he's like, oh, there's all the laundry baskets of shoes back in the corner, and a place for, where do we keep all our white shirts, or all our men's sports coats, or all of that is very well organized. And so rows and rows, and from various periods throughout theater history, where we have it. And so Deborah Hammond, our technical theater instructor, heads the department here for our technical theater, and has organized this. And so she does an excellent job of keeping this straight. And so we're very proud of the stock that we have here. Okay, so that's the costume shop. Now we're gonna head down into the scene shop where we build our sets. Can you make it down okay?
Yeah.
Very steep stairs getting up to our second floor.
Also known as a ship's ladder, which is meant to go up and down in a single direction.
Right. Okay. More lockers for some of our technical theater students or student employees. Over here we have, we teach a scenic painting class. Usually in the fall, and so we have a variety of paints and paint brushes and materials for that class, or sometimes we bring in a scenic painter to paint the sets for that class. And so that's kind of living in the world of this little corner part of what we call the scene shop. which is basically behind the backstage area that we'll be heading over into next. But as we walk into the scene shop, you'll see it's a very busy place. Typically speaking, we teach our stagecraft and lighting classes in this space, as well as sometimes on the stage for actually building parts of the set or hanging and focusing lights. But it's kind of a multi-purpose area here. You can see that we have various sheets of plywood and platforms that we store here in the scene shop. We have just struck our set from March that we didn't get to finish the picture of Dorian Gray, and that's what you're looking at here. Platforms that were used for that show that were struck down, taken down off the stage and housed here in the scene shop. And so mostly we work with wood, but sometimes with steel, or just kind of sort of depends on. We have quite an array of tools that and machinery that we train our students to use here. And Patrick has been manning the camera for you, is our theater technician who works with the stagecraft and lighting instructors and with the designers to safely teach students how to use these tools and machinery themselves. And so we have excellent facilities here that they were able to do, usually do a show in the fall and a show in the spring. And so, for example, last season we did The Farce Noises Off, which was a huge set, which actually turned around. And then we, last spring, like I mentioned, the picture of Dorian Gray, where we had platforms that were turning because we had a large piece of machinery that we rented where the platforms could move around like gears. And that was a lofty endeavor, but it was going to be a beautiful set. It was almost finished when we had to close campus in March. So all of that is housed here in the scene shop. We also store our larger pieces of furniture. You notice all the chairs hanging, and I'm going to take you up briefly to see where we store the furniture and also our props department here. For smaller hand props or anything that we would use in a show. Again, that's our stock of furniture, our stock of props. But if we don't have it, we'll build it, or buy it, or we'll rent it, and we'll acquire it somehow to get it done for that particular show. Okay, so we'll head up there now and look at those two areas, and then we'll head on to the stage and the backstage area for the latter part of the tour. Okay. Anything to add on that, Patrick?
No, I think you hit all of it. That's pretty much what the scene shop's for, technical classes and building the show.
Okay. So here you see some set pieces, furniture that we brought down that was used for, or we considered using for the show. And this is our little green room, more of a green square that we call, where the students at Sierra College can hang out, just kind of socialize a little bit. You'll find students here nearly every day of the week, Monday through Thursday, and sometimes on Fridays if we're rehearsing or building or what we're doing. And it's kind of a fun, unique thing to our department. We're a very family-oriented kind of department. We love our students, and we support them in any way that we can. And so a lot of our students will just kind of hang out in the green room in between classes, have to be quiet when the classes are going on and being taught. But it's kind of a nice little perk of being a theater department student here at Sierra. Okay, so over here, the set pieces that I mentioned, the pieces of the furniture, our furniture stock that we have that are more larger pieces of furniture. This was a piece that we bought for the picture of Dorian Gray because it was very specific, period that we were looking for and size. that needed a mirror, needed a rounder oval mirror on there. So we purchased that recently. And just, you know, we got coat racks, and we've got couches, and we've got, you know, you name it. We have a lot of different types and styles from various periods that we go through for our stock of set pieces and furniture. Tabletops here. And as we head over to this part, this is more of our props area. So it's all kind of been organized as well and revamped last summer. And so we, you know, have sometimes we have a props class that we'll be teaching in the spring. So if that's something you're interested in for the spring, look for that when it's come to register the latter part of this semester, because it's a fun class that Deborah Hammond teaches, where you learn how to acquire props and build props from various materials. And so it's really cool, and a lot of those things kind of end up living up here after we've done with the show. Down here, I'm noticing here is the little mom that was supposed to be for the Addams family that Pugsley uses, and sort of pretending to blow something up. So we ended up painting that late for red. And so it's kind of a fun little piece. But again, it was built for the show. A lot of times props are not practical pieces that are actually supposed to be working, not real food that the actors are eating on stage. But as long as it looks real to the audience, that's all we care about, as you'll see on some of the videos I'll be showing to you. So that's our furniture and props areas that we keep upstairs on top of the scene shop. Okay, now we're going to take you backstage and on stage of the Dietrich Theater. Kinds of saws in here, table saws. By the way, if you have any questions after you watch this video, we'll put it up on the discussion board, and you can ask questions at any time, and I'd be happy to answer those questions for you, since you're not here live while I'm filming this, okay? So this is the Dietrich Theater backstage. You can see it's very vast, and what we have is it's pretty open right now. They're getting ready for an event that's going to be regular here over the fall that someone's going to be using. These are risers that we use sometimes when we have actually audience members on the stage, because we do have that capability. And then you'll see here, this is something we're going to be talking about. I'm going to be asking you about these various curtains, these black curtains here. Some of them are movable, and some of them it might be tied down, but they serve a great function, because as we talk about again and again, when we see a curtain that's hanging from a pipe or a batten way up there, and then hanging all the way down to the floor. The skinny ones over here on the wing side, those are called legs, okay? And sometimes you'll have one that can move all the way across, and that's called a traveler. For obvious nomenclature that it does move, travels all the way across the stage. You have the upstage traveler, this one here on the pulleys. And then it can mask, M-A-S-K is the word that we use to hide what we don't want the audience to see, right? And so that's a word that we're using again and again. It's very important what you want the audience to see, what you don't want the audience to see. So actors and technicians or set pieces or whatever it is, we use our curtains, whether it's a traveler or a leg or whatever curtains that we're using to, sometimes it's a flat that's built up there, to simply mask what we don't want the audience to see. So we'll be talking about that again and again. Over here is the wing space, okay? And so we'll be talking about, if we haven't already mentioned, that you know, you've heard that expression, actors are waiting in the wings. Well, that means they're getting ready to come on, or a crew is getting ready to bring a certain prop or set piece on stage. And so that's what this area is for. We'll set up the prop table off stage here, and so for multi purposes for how we utilize the offstage and backstage areas. Up here, straight up here, we have, I mentioned the term before, we call them battens, or basically your general pipe, where we will hang lighting fixtures, and sometimes we'll hang, because we do not have, we'll be talking about next time, a counterweight system or a rigging system where we can sort of lower a flat down. We don't have that, and so we may have something called a winch where we can lower something down. But these pipes are really helpful for that. So you see a whole lot of pipes, mostly that we use for our array of lighting instruments, okay? And so now we have closer to state-of-the-art type material that we've received through grant